All right, Jay, you let me know when we're ready.
I'm ready.
Okay. I was like, you don't need the microphone. We don't have but you do need the microphone. Otherwise, yeah, okay. And anyway, okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Sounds of Health. I'm super excited to welcome back one of my good friends, Sarah Caliendo. She is a professionally certified executive and well-being coach who has worked with leaders at Google, Anthropic, Grubhub, the New York Times, and other fast-evolving companies. She specializes in helping leaders be successful in and out of work without burnout. Sarah is based in the Bay Area and is a mother of two, a former startup leader, a cycling instructor, and mental health advocate. Sarah, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
We're excited to have you here. Every time I read that intro, I'm like, wow, you do a lot.
Yeah, I'm a little embarrassed, actually, when you read it. It sounds like a lot.
No, it's great, though, because I think it gives people a sense of what you do and what your expertise is.
Yeah.
So if any of you heard the last episode with Sarah, that was a really great conversation that we had. And we invited her back to help us to create some focus topics. So this is going to be the first time we've done this with a returning guest. And we wanted to talk about something that might be on people's minds, something that we hear from people a lot. And so there's going to be a couple of these, but why don't you introduce this first topic for us?
Yeah, sure. And this topic is particularly important and very real for me right now because I'm personally experiencing it. But Dave and I were talking about this idea of the sandwich generation, wherein, middle-aged parents are raising young kids and also taking care of their parents. And I'm in the thick of it right now. And it just so happens that I'm here on the East Coast with my parents while my mom had a very serious medical issue. And I have my father also has pretty serious medical issues. Yeah. And so I'm personally now in the midst of the sandwich caretaking, the ups and downs of that, the stresses of that. And, my clients experience it a lot. And I talk to a lot of friends who are also going through this, feeling the pressure of, being smack in the middle.
Right.
But going through it personally is very different.
Yeah. Well, I mean, especially because what you're describing right now is also being in crisis, right? Like this is not just dealing with aging parents and kids that you're raising. This is now something's happened and now it's time to step up and figure out what to do about it.
That's exactly right. Yeah. The reality is, and I think actually this is why well-being is so important to me in like the cycling and the exercise and the leadership coaching, all these development areas are so important to me because I want to be able to be as healthy and capable as long as possible.
Yeah.
And preventative as possible. Right. And so, seeing my parents, go through crisis and having to step in is pretty intense. My mom, and she wouldn't mind me talking about this, but my mom, she was a nurse for many years, retired, and, her physical health has been declining pretty significantly since. And unfortunately she fell, she fractured her skull. She had a bunch of brain bleeds happening. There was just a whole host of issues going on while my father is on dialysis, which is really pretty intense for people who don't know about that process. And so, I live in California. I'm a single parent with my kids. And so, I'm here on the East Coast supporting my sister and her husband and their new baby, and we're all trying to rally together to support my parents. But it's been quite a lot.
I can only imagine. I'm sorry you're going through that, and I'm
thanks.
Sorry for your parents having to deal with those challenges. I know how difficult all of that can be. So I appreciate you taking the time to be here with us today, because I wasn't quite expecting that you would.
Yeah.
I know we were planning this for a little while, but it's hard to kind of continue on with all these other activities in life when you're dealing with these crises.
Yeah, but I will say, you asked me, are you sure you want to do this? Or is it too raw? And, I think one thing that's really critical as being a sandwich parent, or being someone who is dealing with acute crisis where things pretty much come to a halt, just to facilitate survival personally or for others that are very important to you. Like, you do need to have time outside of the crisis and outside of the caretaking. And so for me, I've been like extremely out of routine. For me, keeping a routine around exercise, diet, and doing things that are important to me, like sitting down and talking about this, processing it out loud with people, sharing the story. These things I think are very, very important when you are sandwiched in between the caretaking. Right. And it's just important to take the time for yourself. I've seen my mom self-sacrifice. I've seen so many others in my life self-sacrifice. And, it's all for me just about making sure that I can stay strong and stay able so that I can be there for everyone else and be supportive. But, unless you're taking time for yourself, even if it's minimal, it's very difficult to be in service to anyone else around you. So I'm very happy to be here and talking about it, because this to me is very fun. Yeah. And it's helpful to others.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think something like that actually highlights the importance of building those healthy habits.
Yes.
Because the more you can do it when things aren't going crazy in your world, then the better prepared you're going to be. I mean, I know I was actually motivated to get exercising more this year because my kids are starting to get taller than I am. Like, they're big, they're strong. Yeah. I have these like grown men walking through my home, and I'm like, I can't just fade away. Like, I need to keep up with these kids. So it's a motivating factor.
It's a motivating factor. I think it's really practical. Like I chose to prioritize my career and have kids a little bit later. Yeah. When I had, my two kids are in the other room, by the way. Hopefully they won't pop in. We don't know. We'll see what happens. But, Mia's 10, Mari is 8. And, I was 35 and 37 when I had them. That's late, that was very intentional, but I was very determined to be sure I could keep up with them. They're extremely high energy. Yeah. And just having the physical capacity to, to be present and an engaged parent with them. It's just, it's a motivator, and it's also kind of a necessity.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, at the very least, so that things don't get too heavy.
Yes.
I mean, it lightens the load if you have that foundation to build off of and to kind of work on things.
Yeah. And I will say that, my family we're out of crisis now, which is great. My mom she went from the hospital, stable in the hospital, to, an inpatient rehab facility. And she just came home actually 2 days ago.
That's great.
It's great. She's in recovery. She has, PT, OT, occupational therapy, a care team. And so things are progressing for her. But I will say that if I were coming from a place of just reacting to crisis and doing damage control, or if I did not have the healthy habits and foundation, it would have been very, very difficult for me to stay sane, frankly. Right. Not even just physically able to help her, but just mentally sane, running a business, single parenting, and, being sort of out of your element for 4 weeks on the East Coast, and dealing with family crisis and all the logistics and emotional elements involved, and kids. It's a lot. And if I didn't have that foundation, I'd probably be in trouble. And so, my hope is that others don't wait. Right. Although I will say that from, in my mom's case, sometimes these types of crises can be a wake-up call.
Yep, for sure.
And for me, it worked that way. My journey to well-being did not start from a place of prevention. It started from a place of crisis. And I found my way over, many decades. But, laying bare minimum foundational elements for yourself, taking little time for yourself, in any way you can, even if it's 2 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, it does make a difference.
Yeah, definitely. And the more that you can prepare or to create those healthy habits, then obviously the better off you're going to be when these things happen.
Yes.
But like you were saying too, like it's not too late once they do happen. If you don't have that basis of kind of foundational support that you've built for yourself, sometimes it takes that wake up call. And I think for most of us, like I feel like I always learn things the hard way.
Yes.
So I've actually learned the hard way to start developing these healthy habits and to try and get ahead of things. Now that I'm, my mom is doing great. She's healthy. Yeah. We lost my dad when I was young, so we went through illness and losing somebody at a very young age.
Yeah.
But, still like as your parents age, you do need to be more aware of them, to be more supportive of them. Yeah. They do become more like having another dependent. So, yes. I mean, I would never say that my mom is another child of mine ever, except to my wife. I kind of joke about that a lot. But there are things I have to be thoughtful about, knowing that I have an aging parent and that there's things that I just want to help her with. Balancing that with all the things we do for the kids and then being a business owner is very difficult. So, I mean, what are some of the kind of tools that you would recommend that people use or develop in order to not get overwhelmed by everything?
Yeah. So I always say start with the bare essentials, and it's not going to be perfect, right? You're not going to get perfect sleep, diet, exercise in a sort of regimented way, even if you are a very disciplined person like I am, right? Like but I will say that there is an element of fundamentals that you do need to hold on to in order to make it through. And so for me, it's been, like I said, it's been exercising, but I'm not rigid about the exercise, It's like, okay, I'm going to commit to going 3 times this week, and I'm going to commit to, eating regularly, even though I don't want to eat because I'm anxious and stressed and exhausted. And like, that's the last thing I even want to consider. And that's just sort of how I process stress. Yeah. I don't want to eat. I want to not eat. So just, making sure that I'm doing those types of bare essentials. That's one sort of category of things I would focus on. The other is, how do I say this? It's almost like a giving in to what's happening, like an acceptance that things are difficult. Yeah. Versus resisting it and trying to maybe in a toxically positive way, try to say everything's going to be fine and just, buck up and you can do this. Like it's actually a healthy practice to accept exactly how things are. It doesn't mean you are complacent in what's happening. Yeah. It means that you are not talking yourself out of the emotional experience of what's happening, the reality of what's
You're not denying it.
You're not denying it, you're self-validating the experience. And I think the other component of this is it's very easy for us to criticize ourselves while we are caring for our parents and our kids and things are extremely stressful. Like, why am I not a good enough parent and I suck at this? And these are some of the thoughts that would go through my mind, right? I'm not doing enough and I'm not good enough. And so accepting it for what it is, saying, this is just how it is, it's temporary. Of course, any normal person would be stressed under these circumstances, for these 3 weeks. The self-compassion part of that is really important. It allows you to, move through the experience versus kind of like getting stuck in it. I would say that's another big element to this. That's
a great point. I more and more these days, I keep being reminded that words have power and the words you use with yourself actually have an effect on you and your health. So I do like the idea of not denying things and not being overly fake optimistic, but being realistic with yourself and giving yourself a break. Yes. Especially when you're dealing with something difficult. Take it easy. Be careful what you're saying to yourself about yourself.
Yes.
It's important to really help to build yourself up in those moments.
Yeah, and I would say for people who are like, oh, that's like so weird and woo-woo, or
it is a little woo-woo.
It sounds woo-woo, it's true. But there's so much science behind it now. It's like we have all the evidence. There are ways to do it in a way that doesn't feel like deeply inauthentic or like over the top. If there's a difference between like saying I suck and saying like, you know what, this is actually extremely, what I'm going through is actually very difficult and anyone would have this experience, right? Like that's a little bit more neutral, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, I mean, it makes a huge difference. It's like we are, you know, what we say to ourselves, right?
Yeah.
So, and then I think the third thing is the support piece, is getting support. So for me, it's been an interesting experience because I actually stopped therapy for the first time in like 20 years. And that for me was like, I'm stable and I feel like I have all the tools I need.
Yeah.
You know, from going through years of therapy, now is one of those times where I was like, oh, maybe I should start again. But let me just see how this goes. Let me see if I can develop support in other ways. And so that comes in the form, I would say, of friends, family, just making sure that you have some sort of social outlet, support from other human beings, because it's extremely isolating, I would say, to go through the experience of being in between the two generations and feeling like the depth of responsibility you feel for, you know, both. So support, I would say, is extremely important. And I think I'll just speak from the woman's perspective. It can also be extremely difficult to ask for support and to feel like it's okay, right? Mm-hmm. Like it's not your responsibility to carry the brunt of all the caretaking and the cooking and the child care and all this stuff. Yeah. So I would say, you know, push yourself to ask, and you can ask for little things, right? Or you can maybe say like, I mean, with my sister as an example, it's so interesting because I go back into my old environment, my old home here, like in Connecticut, and I start to kind of go back into my old ways where I'm like afraid, you know, to like say what I need, and, you know, but, you know, I'll say like, I'd really love to go to the gym at like 8 p.m. when you guys are done for the evening, if you can like watch the kids. And that to me, like I've been doing this for so long, like I've been practicing the asks. Right. They feel more normal to me, but you can practice with little things, you know. It might be giving yourself permission to take a 5-minute break without, you know, needing to ask someone else for something. That's a good way of practicing it if it feels sketchy to you. Or you could, and like this may sound odd, but you could actually throw something into ChatGPT or like throw something on Reddit to a community, right? If you are not comfortable diving into all the details, or you don't have anyone close to you that you can look to for support. But I think the more you can practice asking for what you need and sharing what you need, the better you are for it. Yeah, that's a great point. That's something I think all of us forget. I mean, I don't know if you know this, but men have trouble asking for help as well. It's not an easy thing. Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah. And we have that pressure of, you know, figuring it out for ourselves, you know, why can't you? So yeah, it's definitely giving yourself permission to ask for help is helpful. Yeah. I mean, that's so interesting. I'm curious from your perspective, because I think, like the men are like supposed to be like protector, provider, right? Yeah. And so typically, I wonder what that experience is like. Yeah. For the first time, we've actually had a couple of men's health support group podcasts come on. Yeah, we have. And we haven't released a couple of the episodes yet, but they're going to be coming on. It's an underserved discussion to have a male emotional vulnerability in asking for help. Mm-hmm. You know, it's so odd. But yeah, I'm curious about the feeling of when's the other shoe going to drop, you know? Because people have the mentality when something goes wrong, when something's in crisis, is it comes in threes, or there's something else that's going to bound to be happening. And getting out of that feeling. Yeah, that's a tough one. It is a tough one. I think back now that I'm in this place in my life where, you know, you have aging parents and raising kids and then all of the things that go along with that. Yeah. I do think back to like when my parents were in this position and how difficult it was for them. You know, my mom had her mom with Alzheimer's, so she was taking care of her while also taking care and raising us. Yeah. And that was extremely difficult. And just to know, you know, that it's kind of something that everybody's been through. When my dad died, that was actually a time where I ended up losing
6 or 7 people in succession. Like it was 2 years of just this black cloud hanging over us. And it was that feeling, Jay. It was that constant, like, well, is this ever going to clear? Like, you know, and that's a tough thing. Now, that was an actual thing I was going through, but the follow-up from having gone through that was then you were always thinking that something bad was going to happen.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's that is something I think that when you lose a loved one, that suddenly now your mind is perceiving the world differently.
Yes.
And starting to expect the bad things to happen, which can also be a problem because that, you know, attracts more of them to you, right?
Yeah.
So it's a tough thing to get out of.
Yeah, I can relate to what you're saying. I mean, for me personally, the last 5 or 6 years have been like literally one thing after another. You know, there's like near death from blood clots in my lungs to this like extremely difficult like divorce process that went on during COVID and home displacement. And it was like literally one thing after another. And I find myself, you know, asking myself like, when will it stop? You know, like, and it's very universal, I would say. My clients, when I'm having coaching conversations with them, when one exceptionally difficult thing happens to them, they're just like, when is it going to be like my time to just like relax? When will my body be at ease? Jason, right? It's like, when is this going to end? And I wish I had a good answer for people, but all I will say is, I will say that having gone through, and I'm curious to hear about your experience, but having gone through multiple periods of pretty extreme adversity or difficulty, and I don't say this, and I hope this isn't coming across as like everything's fine in the end. It's not that, but it really does cultivate a resiliency, and for me personally, I think to myself, I've been through exceptionally difficult things. There will be more difficulty, and not with any sort of negativity attached to it, but it's to our earlier point. There's a neutrality. It's just this is part of life. Some people experience an extreme amount or a great amount of adversity and difficulty in their lives, and it seems like I'm one of those people, you know, through this season of my life.
Yeah.
But I will survive it because I have, you know, these last 3, and I will be okay. So to that point, I mean, I wish I had something better to share, but I will say that like it does cultivate resiliency. And I will say, I mean, talking to hundreds of people, year over year, everyone goes through pretty intense periods of crisis. That seems pretty universal to me, where life is hard.
It is. Yeah.
You know, and I think, you know, if you can accept that difficult things are going to happen, you know, you find a little bit more resiliency and find more acceptance in that, and more appreciation for the things that are going well in the good times.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I sometimes wonder, I do ask myself, you know, like, who are these people where like everything is fine and like they don't have a parent die or, you know, like a pregnancy loss or, I'm like, I wonder what that experience is like. I really would have no idea.
Yeah. I don't know if there's that many people out there that don't have something. Right?
I think we have a very unique point of view though. And I don't mean to be biased about us, but as actors, we have the experience of practicing loss, for example, on stage.
Yeah.
You know, and I remember in scene study, you know, trying to get through a scene and then it's like, I can't do this scene. I haven't experienced this before. I haven't experienced this loss. But then I realized, everyone experiences some form of loss or longing or some sort of desire or hatred or cruelty. And finding those moments, we've had that opportunity to kind of practice it. So we've played this script before.
Yeah.
You know, we've read the script before. We've rehearsed it. So as actors, we might be a little bit more prepared than some others.
Yeah.
But there is those people that it is a sudden, you know, like change of mindset, change of worldview. And it could really knock you on your butt. Like it really kick you in the ass.
Yeah.
I will say, I do think that you can't like necessarily pressure test yourself if you aren't someone who has experienced any adversity. But what you can do is put yourself in new experiences to start to develop the muscle for resiliency. Because I will say that for me personally, I know I have like a pretty high threshold and tolerance for difficulty because I've been through so many.
Right.
And so if you're someone who hasn't had them and you know are a little afraid of something happening, given like where you are in your life with your, you know, parents of a certain age, I would say as much as you can start to put yourself in situations that are new, the better, actually. To
challenge yourself, step out of your comfort zone.
Yes, to challenge yourself. It's, you know, put yourself in the beginner's or child's mindset again. And it you know, you don't have to go on like an outward bound or anything.
Right. Although that's probably a great thing to do.
That is actually probably a good thing to do. But doing new experiences, I think is actually very beneficial.
I agree with that.
You know, so.
Yeah. I think one of the things that a couple of things that I want to highlight, like that I've learned throughout the challenges that I've had and the things I've gone through, is one that you can survive anything, you know, in that it does make you stronger. So it does build resilience and you do learn from those experiences. But two, even when you're in your darkest moment, it's not everything. Everything's not dark. So if you can step away for a minute or a moment and just breathe and focus on something else that is still a positive in your life.
Yes.
I think it gives you perspective.
Definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
So, and I think that you can always find those moments. So I think about even people that are suffering under crushing debt or something like that, where that stress is constantly weighing on their shoulders. Yeah. That's not an actual in the moment life-threatening stressor. So if you can find a way to enjoy the moment you're in, breathe, maybe start to develop some healthy habits to better budget and do all of those things, you can improve it. You can, and I think that's true of anything. Life is hard and things are going to happen that are going to be tough. That's the contract we sign when we get here, right? Is we're all going out in the same way. And it's, you know, so that part, I think there needs to be an acceptance, but I think it's the way you can deal with it and handle with it.
Yes.
You have the power to kind of make it what it's going to be.
I agree. And I will also add, you just made me think about how much more I'm thinking about, mortality. I am thinking more about mortality, but not in a dark way. It's more like thinking about what are things I want to do now to appreciate the time I have with my children. It is also like a very reflective time of what is going well, and also in terms of like what I might want to be doing differently. How do I want to spend more time with my parents? What kind of parent do I want to continue to be? There's been a lot of like positive reflection, I think, that's come from the experience too, even though it's a lot of doom and gloom. And I also think people need to give themselves permission to have joy and appreciate some things, because I'm guilty of this. I used to feel guilty about like not being sad all the time. Like when my father was in the hospital, I'm like, is that normal? It's like, you know, and now I'm like, of course that's normal. It's like, you're a human being, but you know, like letting yourself off the hook, you know, like you don't have to be just the parent or the, you know, parent caretaker, and you don't need to always be you don't have to carry that burden. You can be someone else. You can have other feelings. You can have positive experiences while the difficult stuff is going on.
Absolutely. And there actually is a lot of humor that comes up even in those challenging moments. Yes. I mean, there was a lot of laughing that we did when my dad was sick. There were moments that were really unique and special, and we probably didn't recognize them at the time. Yeah. But we laughed and we enjoyed them for what they were. And that's important to kind of maybe try and focus on as well. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if we really accomplished our task with this one. If we stayed focused on the sandwich generation, I feel like we've had a really good conversation.
We've had a very good conversation.
And hopefully the audience will listen to this and get some hints as to what type of tools are out there. I do think, like you and I, we're at the age where our peers are all doing the same thing, right? This is what our lives are at the age that we're in. We have kids, we have aging parents, we have careers, we have businesses.
Yes.
And it's very easy to get overwhelmed by it all. And it's important to, give yourself some grace and to start developing these healthy habits so that you are more resilient and better prepared to enjoy the moments you have.
Yes.
Because the worst thing I think that can happen is that you get so stressed out that you miss out on the time you have with the people that you love.
Yeah. You can get really caught up in, am I doing it well enough?
Yeah.
Am I an okay, business owner or, leader, parent, child, right?
Yeah.
It's easy to get caught up in getting it all right and missing out on, what's happening right in front of you.
Yeah, that's so true.
I think the other piece that we have to take away from it is no matter how difficult the situation or how complex it is, there's not one situation, unfortunately, because of technology and social media, that we're never alone.
Yes.
Everyone that cares is always just a touch of a finger away. And people always lose sight of that,
Yeah.
When you're going through a problem, something upsetting or something frustrating or something difficult or stressful, it's okay to take a step back and just reach out to someone and just to have that connection.
Yeah, I think that's an important point. I think the hesitancy sometimes is that the way we view other people is different than the way we view ourselves. We know the ins and outs of what we're going through.
Yes.
We don't know what other people are going through. And many times all we see are the good things. So you think, wow, they're so put together. To your point, where are these people that haven't lost a parent or gone through anything difficult?
Yes,
they have. You just don't see it.
You just don't hear about it.
You don't hear about it.
People don't talk about it.
Exactly.
I think that's actually I would say my sort of, I want to leave with this point, which is from my side, which is, you are not alone if you're experiencing this.
Right.
You are not the only person experiencing this. I say this because I'm going through it and I talk to a million other people. It's like you just don't see it and hear about it. And it's totally normal and okay to feel tired and overwhelmed and exhausted and struggling with the experience. And you're just not necessarily hearing about it or seeing it around you. It exists. It's real. And we are also, I would say, collectively under a lot more pressure with less support than, generations, before us. And with under very different circumstances.
Yeah, it's very different.
So just acknowledging that, I think I would hope that, you do that and it lightens a little bit of the emotional load you're carrying because it's definitely not just you.
That's so true. Definitely not.
Yeah.
I mean, you're unique, but you're not that unique.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay, so this has been a great first one of these episodes. I've really enjoyed the conversation.
Me too.
I hope the audience gets a lot out of it, and hopefully we're going to do a few more of these moving forward.
Yeah.
So, Sarah, thank you for being here with us on Sounds of Health. I think I forgot to introduce myself at the top of this episode.
I think you forgot. I think you did, yeah.
As all of you out there know, I'm Dave McNiven. I'm your host of Sounds of Health, and we are produced by Jason Krubia, who was a big part of this episode. Thanks, Jason, for your input. And we have fantastic music accompanying the episode by Rob Hames every week. And every week, we try to highlight the people and resources that are out there to help others to improve their physical, emotional, and financial well-being. So if you enjoy the show, if you like this episode, please be sure to like, subscribe, share, leave us a review. We love hearing from the people that are listening, and we hope that all of you will continue as important members of our wellness community. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.